What did Ryan Clark say about Brock Purdy? He had about like a 2.5 minute. I'm not going to say it's a rant, but he had a lot to say about Brock Purdy. He unloaded.
He basically said that he was uncomfortable. I mean, it was just so weak. It was like I'm really uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable earlier this year having to talk about Brock Purdy in the same category as Lamar and Allen and Mahomes. And he basically said that Brock doesn't make his team better, that his team makes Brock better, and that if Brock were on a different team, Brock would be bad, and that he doesn't lift up the team. And yet, I think we could go into the Niner locker room, and even if we gave them a secret ballot, I think they would admit that Brock does make them better. And this guy makes a lot of plays. I mean, it's not just, he's making them better, or it's not just that they're making him better. I think he makes them better. I think he plays at a really high level and has most of the year. So I get it. And it's easy it's just so easy after the guy plays his worst game that everybody watched to say that. But that little statement right there is going to age like crap if this guy bounces back, plays well against Detroit, goes to Vegas and plays really well in the Dome, and the Niners win the Super Bowl. That's going to look really, really bad. So good for Ryan Clark. He rolled the dice, and nobody's going to remember, I guess, except for Niner fans. But I mean, I think it's a fallacy to say that Brock Purdy doesn't make the 49ers better. I think he does.
I understand where Ryan's coming from. I mean, he has to prove that he plays with the best group of skill players in the league. And when you take one guy away, the offense kind of falls apart. Now, maybe that's just one game. But that's the thing about the playoffs. Ryan Clark didn't watch every Niners game this year. It's not his job to watch every single game of every single team, but he'll watch the playoff games. And this is where Brock Purdy's going to write his legacy. It's great that you had a wonderful regular season, but these are the games that everyone's going to remember. And this last one was nondescript. You got to do a whole lot better than that to be considered an elite quarterback. And, you got the NFC Championship ahead of you right now. If you eviscerate the Lions in this NFC Championship game, that'll be your legacy. That will be your legacy. Your legacy will change entirely. So, I mean, maybe Ryan's being a prisoner of the moment, but that's why I like football so much. These games are all that really matter. No one really cares about what Joe Montana ever did in the regular season. His legacy is 99% playoffs. I love that.
It's also, the better quarterbacks generally win, but not always. Nick Foles, Eli Manning. Eli Manning beat Tom Brady twice. Nobody would ever sit there and tell you that Eli Manning's better than Tom Brady, but he beat him in 2 Super Bowls. So nobody should or would ever tell you that Brock Purdy's better than Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Nobody has said that.
Right. And that's another one. Talking about strawman arguments. Ryan Clark right there. No one is putting Brock Purdy in that conversation. No one.
Nobody. So
should he be in the MVP conversation? Yeah, look at his numbers. Like, that's what, and everyone understands. Even Brock understands. Hey, you're not quite Lamar Jackson. Maybe one day. Not now, but there's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that.
You can still win the MVP and the Super Bowl in the same year. There's no shame in that. You don't have to be top 5 right now.
Right. And those guys are super special. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I watched Josh Allen this weekend, the way he threw the ball. I mean, he's absolutely incredible. But then also it's kind of it's a weird thing too, because Brock Purdy did go. If Kittle doesn't drop that ball, he's 7 of 7 on the final drive, and he led them from so it's like almost like we're kind of moving the goalposts. He can't do it coming from behind. He gets
credit for that, though. Does he not? He gets credit for that. Like, he now has the reputation as being a guy who can gut it out and come from behind, even if he's not playing his absolute best. We didn't know that about Brock before 2 days ago. That's a good thing.
I mean, he did it once. Could he do it again? Can he do it repeatedly?
In a playoff game.
We'll see.
And then we did in a playoff game.
Ultimately, it also is going to come down to, Brock doesn't play against Mahomes or against Allen or against Lamar. He plays against the defense. So
I just think it's interesting how quarterbacks' perceptions change after a weekend. Like, Before last weekend, we were looking at Jordan Love as maybe like a borderline top 5 quarterback. Now it's like, buddy, you got a ways to go. You freaking melted down in crunch time. You may not be ready for the big stage. Then you look at Lamar Jackson. People were ready to write him off. Like, another bad playoff performance kills it. And it's like, nah, actually, he might be the second best quarterback in the league right now after Patrick Mahomes. I think it's interesting how these little reputations change drastically after a week of NFL playoffs.
Well, you know what it is, Grant. Everybody, you got to filibuster on the head coach and the quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's what resonates. That's what moves the needle. You could talk about other things.
Lamar's performance was important. Like that was not, he needed that and he delivered.
He threw for 152 yards. I mean, they ran for 229. Now his
quarterback rating was 120. He didn't turn the ball over and he ran for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was really great.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's like he was really great as a runner. It's like he threw for 152. So if you can, two touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns.
Okay.
He ran for 2 and threw for 2. If you can force, and it's going to be interesting because now Kansas City's defense is really, really good. Kansas City, L'Jarius Sneed. You can put L'Jarius Sneed. You saw that game, the Buffalo game. Guess who didn't do squat in that game? Buffalo's number 1 wide receiver, Stephon Diggs.
Lamar beats the Niners with his arm, not his legs.
Yeah, but Stephon Diggs was shut down in that game, and he was shut down earlier this year against L'Jarius Sneed. Now we get to see L'Jarius Sneed against Zay Flowers. And what if he shuts down Zay Flowers? And then can Baltimore just run it down Chris Jones's throat, down Kansas City's throat? I kind of like Kansas City this weekend. We'll see, but Baltimore's really good at home.
Yeah,
but I'll take Mahomes.
I don't ever pick against Patrick Mahomes. That's a rule.
Probably
it's a good rule to live by.
Probably a good rule.
I think it's a good rule to live by. Cleslin Perio says, is Lions O-line better than Green Bay? And what's up with our D-line? Can't Coach Kasarik get them going, especially young pressure Goff?
Here's the rub. Oh, the Detroit's line has better individual players. Ragnow's the best center, and Penei Sewell's the best right tackle. Okay, but Green Bay was number 2 in pass block win rate, and they are tremendous pass protectors. Detroit's offensive line's 14th in pass block win rate, so they're not as good run blocking. Where Detroit's line's really good is not as good pass blocking. They're really good run blockers.
I wanted to come back to the quarterback thing real quick. I'm saying I feel after this weekend, I'd put Lamar as the second best quarterback in the league and Josh Allen number 3. And what's interesting is you went to pass yards for Lamar. Just remembered, Josh Allen had like the same game. He threw for about 150, ran for a lot. He just turns the ball over and Lamar doesn't. I think Lamar's better than Josh Allen. How about that? Do you want to argue that?
Josh Allen's got a way bigger arm than Lamar, but Lamar's maybe the greatest running quarterback the league's ever seen. I mean,
arm strength isn't all that important, right? Brock Purdy fan number 1.
But I'm just saying, it's not about arm strength. I think Lamar's got arm strength. It's about accuracy and overall passing. I like Josh Allen as a passer way more. Also, Kansas City's defense had a little something to do with that.
Who's a better quarterback?
L'Jarius Sneed. I like Josh Allen. To me, it's Mahomes and Allen, and then Lamar.
Okay. Gavin says, only one way to prove the national media wrong: win the whole darn thing. But the real blame needs to go on Kyle if he can't. Well, before we start blaming people, let's let him play the games.